Hello everyone, this is Persephone, and this is going to be more of a dystopian / podcast type of video. Trigger warning, I'm going to say things that they're going to upset people. I know that, so please, if you find yourself feeling negatively towards the video, just drop it and do something else. I want to share with you some things that I wish I had known when I was starting online in business and in life in general, and I tried to research them online and I couldn't find anything. All I found was gaslighting, invalidation, and beliefs that they're going to keep you enslaved. In my case, sometimes validation comes from very unexpected sources. So recently, I read an article that was recommended to me by the algorithm on my phone about a very brave woman that she was talking about van life and how living in a van is not the amazing adventure people show on TikTok, and it's actually glorified homelessness. I was very curious about what this woman had to say, although personally, when people say it's not about the destination, it's about the journey, I'm completely opposite to that. For me, it's all about the destination. I don't have time to waste going up and down for no purpose, and I would never live in a van, but because her opinion was controversial, I wanted to see what her arguments are. And she made some really good arguments. She said that she had a job, she lost it, she read all about the van life and she wanted to travel, so she rented a van from someone and she was planning to rely on jobs from Fiverr and similar apps. She had downloaded 18 of those apps on her phone and she started her journey with a van. And she was saying some things that no one on TikTok described. For example, that you can hear every drop of rain, every sound when you are inside the van, that people try to get into it. When you're a woman, you feel very scared because unfortunately, women do not experience war the same way as men are when it comes to harassment. And that she wanted to go to hotels, to take breaks from the van. This started to cost a lot of money. And eventually it became so difficult that she had started to have to sell her things to survive because she couldn't make enough money from the apps. That on Fiverr you compete with hundreds or thousands of people for the same job, and there are people from third world countries who lower their prices. So I'm not saying this to blame anyone, but you can get a job and the pay may be so low that a lot of people underestimate how much you can make. So she documented her experience and she was honest, and I considered it informative. What was really shocking to me were the tons and tons and tons of hating comments, calling her stupid, saying that she's the one who had the problem, that van life is great, and so on. And even the woman herself said at some point that it's because it breaks people's fantasy. And I realized we live in a world. I knew that, but it's always shocking to me to see that because of, honestly, the intellectual inequality, that people reject whatever makes them feel bad, which in my opinion shows that you don't use your brain. That when something makes you feel very bad, instead of taking a moment to sit down and say, okay, does this have any basis? Can this information protect me from disaster, from wasting my time, my money, from potentially risking my life? They're like, oh, it makes me feel bad. I didn't hear it. You're stupid for saying it. So there are people that they watch all of these van life videos on TikTok and they fantasize about going on the same exciting journey by themselves. So when someone says the truth about something that pulls the blanket over their eyes, I'm going to say blanket in this case because these people are like in deep, deep denial, their solution is to attack the person. Even if the person says things that they make sense, that they can easily be proven, because it's not like she completely invalidated the experience. She said, if you're rich, if you have money to buy a brand new van that doesn't need constant repairs, if you have money to just go to a hotel whenever you feel like it, if you have someone financially supporting you so you don't have to rely on apps and whatnot, maybe it can be great. But her experience as an average person, not someone from a well-off family, was what she documented. And in my opinion, that should be respected. Yet we are in times where I realize that the same thing was happening to me, and it will continue to happen to me, because it's very humbling to see brave people like that sharing what's going on to them, because it helped me realize what's happening to me and why I have been depressed for so long about that, and angry and feeling disrespected. That at the end of the day, people will not let me quit fandom peacefully. People will always pretend they didn't see my trailer. People will always find my email and harass me. It will never stop, because it's not about me. It's about me spoiling the fantasy and people just blocking that immediately out of their head. That I sat down and I said, I have people harassing me. I have people doxing me. I have people who found even my ex-husband from years ago and sent him nudes pretending to be me. I'm not happy. And this breaks the fantasy that if you do this amazing job, you love all of your fans, you love every moment of your life, you meet the best of the best people, and most importantly, you cannot change. And this is not going to be a video ranting about fandom. I'm just explaining my train of thought, and I'm going to get to points that I usually don't talk about. So I realized that when people watch my videos and they feel good, and then all of a sudden, for them, because for me, I've been complaining for a long time, but for them, I make this video where I say I feel bad, I started self-harming behaviors of various kinds again. I think that was on the video I posted some months ago. Their first reaction is to immediately deny and block. And I believe that when someone behaves like that, we live in a society that this is celebrated, accepted, and promoted. Which is, if you think about it, for the average person, very scary. For me, not scary at all, because I don't do it. And I want the smart people in my channel who watch me to not do it either. Which is, you cannot solve problems of any kind if your first reaction is denial and running away, that it didn't happen. One of the reasons that I suffered so much in my life, like I suffered abuse, that I plan to eventually talk about it. I know I've been saying this for years, and I have so many videos where I talk about it, and then I look at the video back to edit it, and I'm thinking, this cannot be online, because YouTube is just going to immediately erase it. It's that bad. Because there was one main difference between me and other people. And I had people for so many years gaslighting me and pinpointing the blame to other things that I had started to internalize it when I was more insecure and more inexperienced, because I was in the basement and everything was new, and I didn't know that, oh, I must be autistic, so this is it. Oh, I must be because my family were of immigrant origin, so this is it. I don't understand other cultures, or it must be because I'm this creepy looking person and people think I'm trans, and I'm not really trans, so it's like you're in the twilight zone, you don't fit anywhere. It's none of that. It all had to do with basic things that, whether we like it or not, have to do with IQ. And I read recently that IQ doesn't matter, which is the biggest bullshit. IQ is everything. IQ can make who lives and who dies as a difference. The good thing is that we live in the golden times of humanity, so you don't even really have to have high IQ. You just need to be able to cultivate what I'm going to tell you now, and your life will start to transform. The main difference that made me a constant target of bullying all of my life was that the other people would look around. We would have a problem. We would have the same problem. And I'm going to be specific to talk with examples. Okay. In my old, horrible civilian jobs, by civilian, I mean not related to adult content, okay? We would have a terrible problem. And again, I'm going to make it as specific as possible. We had a supervisor that was a little, okay, it's YouTube, I'm not going to tell any kind of like awful name calling. Insert the most awful name you can think about this middle-aged man. And I don't say this in an ageist way, but he was a male Karen, okay? He would want us to have a meeting every day at between 2 and 2:30 at lunchtime. And that meeting, most of the times, didn't even have a specific topic. It was him who wanted to talk to us about various stuff, like this thing happened or that thing happened, and we have to discuss it. Now you're going to say, okay, Persephone, do you live under a rock again? Did you get like basement dweller cabin fever again? People have meetings in their jobs. You're right, they do. The problem is the job continued at 4. At 4, we had to be ready for the next round. So imagine when the meeting starts at 2 or 2:30, and I'm not saying a specific time because it was shamelessly, depending on his convenience, on when he would be ready to come to talk to us. There were many times when I couldn't eat lunch. None of us could. We weren't even allowed to drink water or coffee or tea or anything during those meetings, where he would go on and on and on and on about everything. And okay, I was patient once, I was patient twice, I became 90 pounds, I was on the verge of hospitalization, because it wasn't just that meeting, it was the extreme stress and the 20 pills I needed to get through the day and various medications, because my autoimmune system was collapsing. You know, that's what happens when you don't eat, drink, and sleep properly for months and months and months. So I would try to talk to my colleagues about that, or to my parents, that during that point I was on my very last legs with my parents, but I was trying to put them on an information diet to share as little as possible. So it was very weird to me that people were saying, this is just how it's always been, every job is this way, you just have to accept it. So there was a main difference. I would look around me and I would see horrible work conditions. And I would feel bad both for myself and for other people. So I would try to think, what can we do to improve this? Like, can we go to the management to make a complaint? Can we say something? Can we at least negotiate the right to bring a coffee in that meeting because I was falling asleep half of the time? No. These people weren't focused on making things better or how can we make things differently. These people were focused on how to convince themselves that there is no problem, that this is how people live, that this is how everybody does things, and that I'm weird for not accepting it. For me, that was a profound moment, that all of my life I would look at things, I would say, okay, this is horrible, and people would just stone me, ostracize me, scapegoat me. Even at school was a glorified daycare. It was a place where we wasted our time. I don't have kids, but if I ever had kids, I would never send them to school. Unless I would find a very, like, an actual school and not a daycare, I would never waste their time like that. It's so disrespectful. We didn't learn anything, and my teachers were, honestly, there were people who didn't want to teach, there were people who had failed in their life, and they were just doing this job to have some kind of salary and some kind of easy job. Because I was forced to take acting classes for about a year at school, in high school, and the teacher was a failed actress, and she would always talk to us for hours and hours and hours and hours of how horrible it was and how she wishes she had, like, pushed herself more in acting school and tried harder in college and all of that stuff, and how full of regrets she was. But okay, I'm not going to make this video a total mess. Let's go back to what we were saying. So eventually, after many times where I was honestly starving, I started telling people that I regret getting in this job and I'm going to look for another job. Obviously, I wouldn't just go to my boss and say, hey, I'm looking for another job, but to 2 or 3 people that I considered trustworthy, I started saying that in secret, I started going to interviews for other jobs because I couldn't see myself doing that. And there was even another older supervisor that I had tried to bring this topic to and say that this is a very serious problem, that we don't have time to eat for 8 or 9 hours in a row. And he would say, you know, I haven't eaten lunch the last 20 years either. And I wanted to start like saying, am I in some kind of mental hospital where there is some experiment that everyone is crazy and pretending they work jobs? Like, why did you choose to not eat lunch for 20 years? Question number 1. Question number 2, how does that solve my problem? And question number 3, we are not in the suffering Olympics. Like, you're supposedly here. He was supposed to be one of our mentors. I have a list of words and things that I absolutely hate. Mentor is on the top 3. I haven't met an older person who didn't try to sexually abuse me, sexually exploit me, ruin my life, sabotage me, or just being plain insane in general, who wanted to be a mentor. I don't know if it's the role that attracts them, but anyway, after some point, I was like, okay, this is not going to change. People here are determined to suffer. And I found another job that was still civilian. I was still in the matrix. And I quit. And everyone who used to be my quote-unquote friend, every person who wanted to go for drinks with me after work to discuss work, who wanted to go eat with me, who wanted to date me, who wanted to be my friend, all of these people dropped me like a hot potato faster than you would ever imagine. Because I had the nerve to say, I want to eat lunch, or I want to drink a coffee at least in the meeting, or a cup of tea. Was that too much? Yes, it was too much. And people say that slavery has been abolished. There are many forms of slavery in this world. Not that the original slavery obviously wasn't horrible and it was great that it have been abolished, but it doesn't mean we're free now. We're not free. People who sit there and just reject reality, these people will perish. And I'm going to be honest with you, I don't even feel sorry anymore. I'm sick of these people. I'm sick of people that I've been saying the truth on this channel, and it's been years. And we are recycling the same trash. They don't understand the basics of business. They don't understand the basics of psychology. They just don't want to hear anything that I say. The moment you say something they don't like, boom, you're the bad guy. To take things one step further, there was some kind of unpaid internship of 2 freaking years that include 36-hour shifts. And I had an offer for that, and although I was quite a doormat up to that point, it was the first time that I had put my foot down and they said, I'm not doing this shit unpaid with 36-hour shifts at least twice a week for 2 years. And then I was the only person who was my advocate. Everyone else, my boyfriend at the time, who's yet another Asian guy, brainwashed. I'm not saying that white guys cannot be brainwashed, but this guy's like, oh my god, be filial, and oh my god, the service system. No. My parents mad at me. My father came with yet another genius plan. My father, the failed patriarch. He told me it's okay if it is unpaid. You're just going to rely financially on us again. That if you need something, you can just tell me if you don't want to tell your mother, and I'm just going to give you the money and problem solved. If someone doesn't see the humiliation factor of an adult who used to have jobs, like I was financially dependent ever since like 17 because I couldn't stand my mother, going back to absolute financial dependency, and okay, let's say you want extra groceries. The way this internship was formed is that you have to ask for anything you want and you have to explain why you need the money. Let's say you have a urinary tract infection. Something not too embarrassing, it happened to anyone. Should I go to my father as an adult and say, I have a urinary tract infection, hey, can you pay the doctor? Or let's say you went out with a guy and you want to take a taxi home because you have been drinking that. I'm not drinking it, I wasn't meeting random guys, but again, it can happen. Am I supposed to explain why I took a taxi at 4 a.m.? Because my father would ask. No one saw the problem with that. It was only me that I saw the problem, and everyone was mad that I turned down such an amazing opportunity to learn. I'm saying these things. And the next topic is, there was someone who asked me, why don't you monetize TikTok videos? Because a lot of these things, like the Fiverr app and the other apps that this woman mentioned at the start of my video, those things are very overrated to the point that I would be confident enough to consider them scams. That there was a time when I had a video on TikTok that was going viral for 1 hour, and then all of a sudden, abruptly, it stopped. And I didn't know why. It got like 20,000 views in 1 hour. I think it was a cat video, and then nothing. And I did research and no one knew why. I'm sorry, but I'm not going to waste my time to sit there to study this algorithm on this rigged app for hours and hours and hours and hours when I can just do adult content and make $200 $300 in one day and just go buy whatever I want a few hours later. And if that sounds addicted to his money, yeah, I've become addicted to his money. I've become like those YouTubers that I used to make fun of, that they become lackluster because YouTube has the same problem. If you were me, would you just upload a video every day praying that yet another bitter, insecure male is not going to flag it for demonetization so that it gets demonetized, and then I have to submit a manual review, and then weeks will pass before a human bothers to take a look at it and then monetize it? I'm not going to do those things. I'm going to go for whatever makes me feel best and make the most money and have the biggest positive impact in my life, and not what other people say. And if you follow this principle, you won't need a high IQ. That principle is, before you make a decision, look at the other person who is giving you advice and ask yourself, do I want their life? Are they happy? Do they make the money that I want to make? Do they have the body that I want to have? If the answer is yes, then by all means, try their advice. By trying, I mean, someone may give you very good advice that applies to them, but maybe it won't apply to you. A very good example is people who say, just go out more, bro, when it comes to meeting women. If you are extroverted, or if you have the ability to develop that skill, then yeah, do it. But for an introverted person, you can go out 1,000 times and nothing will happen. So you will need another strategy. But I'm talking about awful people with awful lives giving horrible advice, and people still being afraid to say no or to not follow it. I say no to so many people and they get so pissed off you couldn't imagine. Or when people try to play the nice guy game to me, there was someone who said, I respect you, you like adult OnlyFans workers work so hard. I don't know about you, but I told him, I don't work hard. Do you know what's hard work? Being a firefighter. Do you know what's hard work? Being a brain surgeon. Do you know what's hard work? Working any kind of awful blue-collar job all day on your feet. And then making pennies and not being able to feed your family. That's hard work. And he was like, no, I respect you. I said the only thing that is hard about this job, the only two things that I could say is, thing number one, that it's a very dangerous job, that any creep on the planet can try to target you and stalk you and find you and put you in a suitcase after dismembering you. Yes, that's hard, that's stress on you. And the second thing is that you have to deal with the idiocracy and an endless amount of extremely stupid comments that they can take a toll of you if you allow it. But hard in the sense of comparing to someone, let's say, working construction work, like, dude, I said to this person, I don't have these delusions for myself because I don't need to, and you don't have to say this to me to make me feel better because we both know they're lies. And he was so mad at me. So I'm going to remind you that we live in times, and it's going to intensify in my opinion, where people will be addicted to whatever just makes them feel good. Dopamine addiction to the extremes. So you're going to be having a lot of fake information in your life. You're going to be having a lot of gaslighting. People telling you that, no, it's not like how you say things are. It's something else. We don't know what else, but you shouldn't do that. You should ignore them and push forward and rely on facts and not feelings. Because feelings are dependent on so many things, from hormones to trauma to even outside factors like nutrition, medication, and so on. I say that because that was a very hard pill for me to swallow. I'm going to tell you, I have Revenge Star for like 5 years. I'm very attached to this channel. It was my first channel. I got my very first subscriber on this channel, and I realized that whatever I say, it's not going to matter. Whatever I do is not going to matter. I'm never going to achieve what I want to achieve because I posted the fetish videos, so everything instantly becomes about the fetish. And I have to start from zero again if I want to make an impact in the areas that I want to make an impact. This is a very difficult pill to swallow. But that's how it is, because once you get typecasted once, you're typecasted. That's it. People just every day get messages, why don't you talk about chastity? Why don't you talk about feminization? Because I'm tired, because it's boring, because I didn't come to the internet to do that. Then you're going to say, okay, you take all the money and then you bitch on top of that. Yeah, I have the right to do it because it has become exhausting. Please get 5,000 comments saying the same thing, and I'm going to ask you if you're going to be fed up or not after that. I am fed up. But then I realized, you know something? I'm the problem. I'm the one who doesn't adjust to the dystopia fast enough. Because if I was, I would be making this video, give people what they want. I should be making one video talking shit about chastity every day, or feminization, or the latest creepy thing, post it here, and then make a video talking about whatever I want to talk about, and that's it. I'm the one who has the problem at the end of the day. And I realized that's what a lot of YouTubers do. That's why you see so much repetitive content. And if you ask me again, would I want to watch a YouTuber that is posting the same thing in such a monotonous way, day after day after day? I wouldn't watch them. But then again, I'm not my audience. My audience is people that obviously they want to see the same thing with slight variations 1 million times, right? Most of it at least, some of it. So I realized that this is a thing that can hold you back in life so much if you don't identify it. That if you want something better for yourself or for others, they may not want it. There are many people that they claim that they want to change their life, but there is comfort in the familiar. There is comfort even in the toxic. There was a psychologist who said something very controversial in a video that I watched recently. He said that abuse is way more common in close relationships than in casual ones, because if someone is emotionally involved with you and they have a personality disorder, they are most likely to abuse you. And there were so many people angry at that. But it's true. And some people will never change. A lot of people will never change. You will never see the slightest difference. And a small gossip for the people who watched this video until the end. Recently, I checked the Discord of a specific YouTuber that I used to be a fan of because they were in Japan some years ago, but now I don't really like them. And I was very shocked to see the exact same people that he backstabbed, and they backstabbed him over and over for years. And now, like nothing happened, they are on the same Discord talking and giving each other narcissistic supply and acting like they are superior. Their life hasn't changed at all. They haven't studied anything. They didn't get any new job. His channel tanked. He used to be somebody and now is a washed out has-been. And there was something that really impressed me, because I used to check this Discord with a fake name in 2018, and they used to talk about me in 2018 that I had, I think, around 5,000 subscribers, and they used to say, this loser, she thinks she's a YouTuber, she's just ugly, you know, the things people usually talk shit about on forums. I don't really take this to heart, because I've written worse things in forums in the past about other people, and it's part of the whole toxic internet culture. I don't do that anymore because it's a waste of time. But they used to say this loser and this nobody and all that. And in this new Discord, they say the YouTuber revenge star. And I was like, whoa. Sometimes, again, like I said at the start, validation comes from unexpected sources. So even people who decided to keep their life having as much development as a tapeworm has in your intestines, that it can never go anywhere, it just parasitizes in your intestines, their life hasn't been anywhere at all, they actually replace the loser and the nobody and the delusional person who thinks she does YouTube with, oh, the YouTuber. So I was like, okay, maybe I'm doing something right after all. Maybe it's not just a pointless train wreck. I'm just saying this as food for thought, because I don't want to see people suffering with the same things that I suffered for years and years and years and years. And if you really try to change your life, if you wonder why your life is so bad, why it goes nowhere, and you try to communicate with other people, and they look at you like you're crazy, you're not crazy. It's not you, it's them. They have maladaptive defense mechanisms that they will never admit they made a mistake. My old work colleagues, we were all in the same boat. We all interviewed for that city job, we got it, and we essentially got scammed. I didn't work for like 18 hours to be paid for maybe 9, because with all of the meetups and the commuting and the bullshit, it was so much reduced. The difference is that I took up responsibility to say, hey, I got scammed, I really screwed up here, I'm never going to get out of this pit hole unless I change jobs, what can be done? And these people, they had such a fragile ego, they were so narcissistic, like covert narcissists, the martyr narcissist, and I'm going to be armchair psychologist here for a second to diagnose them, that they could never admit that they made a mistake. They could never admit that this job sucks, we need to do something about it, or this relationship sucks, we need to do something about it, or femdom online is mostly a scam, we need to see what we can do in real life. For the people who watch me, they're into femdom. And because of that, some of these people are still in that job. And recently, I crossed paths in the street, unfortunately, with one of my former colleagues, and her hair have turned completely white. In like, 6 months? 1 year, completely, and she looks so aged and so fed up, and she was constantly complaining about the job, and she was saying now that they're cutting down, and she's afraid she's going to be fired, and she doesn't have another job lined up, and apart from just working on that dead-end job, she didn't have time to do anything else. I'm going to give credit to this person. She was hardworking, but when you are having these meetups and you don't have time to eat, you can go home and work out. You can go home and study foreign language. You can go home and do some online college classes to have something to show on your resume. You just look like a loser who goes to the job and then comes home. And all of this happened to her because she never had the guts to admit that, okay, we made a mistake, we stop. The first thing when you find yourself inside a hole is to look at your hands. Do you have the shovel? Are you the one digging yourself deeper inside the hole? If the answer is yes, you stop digging. It's that simple. Before you think how you're going to climb out of the hole, you have to realize that you're the one digging yourself deeper and deeper and deeper. And I'm actually lying to these people, and I'm just very much downplaying the fact that I make in a day what they make in a month. And I don't say this to brag, I say this to tell you that if I could do it, so can you. I know you don't need to do OnlyFans, you don't need to do anything you don't want to do. You just need to make better and smarter choices. Look at the mistake and say, okay, this was wrong, we learn, and we change direction. changing direction is going to be the number one survival trait you will need in this dystopia. Not who is the strongest, not who is the richest, not who is the youngest, whoever can see it and adapt and change the fastest. This is going to give you the advantage that other people will not have. You will ask my father, and it has been years, and he's going to be saying, why didn't you go to that unpaid internship? Because I would have sold my dignity. Okay, and this video is already 30 minutes, but I'm just going to say this. There are so many people who are asking me, why do you do OnlyFans and other things that really lack dignity? Okay, because some of them do, I'm not going to lie. And whoever is an OnlyFans creator, no matter how much of a big YouTuber they are, and they're going to say that they never did anything that later they saw as undignified, they're going to be a liar, okay? Because the alternative at the time was perpetual financial dependency, like going with a urinary tract infection and explaining to your father how you got it, which is something that I don't want to personally do, or working yourself to death, because I was already taking 20 pills per day, and if this needed to increase more, I had been hospitalized 2 times, 3 times. How long until I would have permanent damage on my kidneys and my liver? Those were my alternatives. So no, I didn't do OnlyFans for the glamorous life. I didn't do it for the easy money, although I don't complain the times where the money are fast and easy. I did it because all of the other alternatives were horrible. So look around, look at your life, look at the people around you and ask yourself, 5 years from now, do I want to watch these people from as far of a distance as possible and possibly help them? You know, if you have a lot of money and they're your family or your friends and you want to just help, go ahead and help. Or do you want to be in the same exact spot as them? Because there are people who tell me that, you know, it all worked out well at the end. Yeah, but when I was making these decisions, I was quite scared, to be honest. Starting a new job or starting a new internet job, it's scary. I'm not going to lie, but whoever does it, it's not necessarily a fearless person. It's a person who uses facts over feelings. That I sat down and I told myself, my body's shutting down.